The small shoe store smelled like old leather and new hope. Ryan stood near the discount shelf, his hands rough and cold, holding a pair of tiny pink sneakers. They were 2 sizes too big for his daughter Emily, but he thought maybe, just maybe, she could grow into them. It was all he could afford. Outside, the city roared with noise, horns, sirens, people talking about money they would spend tonight. Ryan felt like he didn't belong there. He felt small in this big world that always seemed to have a reason to push him down. Emily was sitting on a low bench, her feet swinging back and forth, her smile so bright it hurt Ryan's heart. She was only 6, but she understood more than any kid should. She looked up at her dad and said, "Dad, do you think I can run fast in these?" Ryan forced a smile. "You'll be the fastest kid in your class, sweetheart." His voice trembled at the lie. He didn't want her to know these shoes might not last even half the year. The clerk behind the counter kept glancing at them. The store was nearly empty except for one other customer at the back, a man wearing a black cap, a beard hiding half his face. Ryan didn't notice him. He was too busy counting coins in his pocket. Praying they'd be enough, he placed the shoes on the counter. The clerk scanned them and said, $29.99. Ryan's fingers shook as he handed over crumpled bills and a handful of coins. He heard the coins drop onto the counter like tiny hammers hitting him in the chest. "You're short. $3, the clerk said flatly, no kindness in his eyes. Ryan felt the heat in his face, the shame crawling up his neck. He looked back at Emily, who was now humming to herself, swinging her feet, completely unaware. Maybe you can give me a discount?" Ryan asked, his voice so low he wasn't sure if he'd spoken. The clerk shook his head. "Sorry, store policy." Ryan closed his eyes. He couldn't bring himself to tell Emily she'd have to leave the shoes behind, not after she'd been so excited. He reached into his pocket again, hoping he'd find a miracle coin stuck in the lining. Nothing. That's when the man in the black cap stepped forward. His voice was soft but carried weight. "Add whatever he's short to my bill." Ryan turned around. He recognized the face behind the beard and cap. Keanu Reeves. He felt his throat tighten. He'd seen him in movies so many times, but now he was standing right here, looking at him with eyes that held no judgment, only warmth. Double quotes, "Sir, I can't let you do that." Ryan stammered. He wanted to say more, but the words got tangled. In his fear and pride, Keanu smiled, a small, gentle smile. "I think you can," he said. Then he turned to the clerk and gave him the best pair of shoes for his daughter. "These cheap ones won't last." The clerk's eyes widened, but he nodded. He knew better than to argue with Keanu Reeves. Emily noticed the man now. Her eyes grew wide. "Dad, is that?" Ryan knelt beside her, his own eyes wet. "Yes, sweetheart." Keanu crouched too, so he was eye level with the little girl. "Hi, Emily," he said softly, like they'd always known each other. "How about we find you the coolest shoes in the store? Huh, ones that'll make you fly." Emily giggled. "Will you run with me?" Keanu laughed, the sound echoing through the empty store like sunlight breaking through clouds. "I will, but you'll have to promise not to run too fast. I'm getting old." Ryan stood there, frozen between shame and gratitude. He wanted to protest, to tell Keanu he'd figure it out himself. But the kindness in the actor's eyes broke every wall he'd built around his struggle. "Why are you helping us?" Ryan asked, his voice cracking. Keanu looked at him, then at Emily. "Because sometimes we all need someone to remind us that we're not alone." In that moment, Ryan felt the weight lift just a little. It wasn't just about the shoes anymore. It was about hope, the kind that shows up when you're ready to give up. The clerk brought over a new pair of sneakers, bright, sturdy, and perfect. Emily squealed and hugged her dad, then hugged Keanu too, her tiny arms wrapping around his neck like she'd known him forever. "Thank you, mister," she whispered. Keanu hugged her back gently. "You're welcome, little one." He looked up at Ryan. "Keep going, man. You're doing better than you think." Ryan nodded, unable to speak. He held Emily's hand tighter than ever. The city outside was still loud, still careless, but inside that small store, something had shifted, and neither Ryan nor Emily would ever forget the day a stranger walked in. and reminded them that sometimes miracles wear human faces. Ryan and Emily left the shoe store with the new sneakers and a small white bag. The cold wind brushed against their faces as they stepped onto the busy street. Ryan's mind was still spinning. He kept looking down at Emily's small hand in his. It felt unreal, like he'd dreamed the whole thing. Emily was walking with a bounce in her step, her eyes bright. "Dad, can I wear them now?" she asked, peeking into the bag. Ryan smiled, though his eyes were tired. "Maybe when we get home, sweetheart. It's cold out here." They reached the bus stop and sat on a rusty bench. Ryan's thoughts drifted back to Keanu. Why would a famous actor help someone like him? He'd felt so invisible for so long. Ever since Ryan lost his job at the warehouse, life had been a constant maze of disappointments. Emily tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, why did that man help us? Do you know him?" Ryan shook his head. "No, honey. Sometimes good people just show up." He brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "Maybe we should help people too when we can." Emily nodded and hugged him. "We will. When I grow up, I'll help lots of people." The bus ride home was quiet. Ryan stared out the window at the glowing city lights. Each light felt like a dream he couldn't reach. He thought of the eviction notice, taped to their apartment door. He thought of the final notice from the power company. His heart sank. A pair of shoes wouldn't fix everything, but it had given him a spark he hadn't felt in months. That night, after Emily fell asleep, hugging her new sneakers, Ryan sat at the small kitchen table. The single bulb above flickered as he scribbled down numbers on a piece of paper. Rent, bills, food, job applications. He rubbed his temples. He had skills. He'd been a good worker, but the world had moved faster than he could keep up. Then he remembered what Keanu said. "Keep going, man. You're doing better than you think." Ryan repeated the words like a prayer. The next morning, Ryan woke up to Emily's laughter. She was wearing the sneakers, running back and forth across the tiny living room. Each time her feet hit the floor, they squeaked a little, like they were telling him, "Don't give up." Later that day, Ryan made a choice he hadn't made in a long time. He put on his old jacket, grabbed a folder full of resumes, and held Emily's hand as they left the apartment. He decided to walk instead of taking the bus. They stopped at every shop, every cafe, every store, asking for work. Most people said no. Some didn't even look at him. But Ryan felt something shift inside him, a stubborn spark. At lunchtime, they sat on a bench near a busy street. Ryan split the last sandwich in his bag with Emily. As they ate, he heard a familiar voice. "Hey there." Ryan looked up. Keanu was standing in front of him, this time without the cap. He looked ordinary, wearing a simple black coat and carrying a paper bag of food. "Mr. Reeves?" Ryan stood up quickly, brushing crumbs from his pants. What are you doing here?" Keanu sat on the bench next to Emily, handing her a chocolate chip cookie. "I wanted to check on you too. You didn't think I'd just disappear, did you?" Ryan felt a flush of embarrassment. You've done enough. You don't have to worry about us." Keanu looked at him kindly. "Ryan, sometimes it's not about what I have to do. It's about what I want to do. Listen, I know it's tough, but there's a place I know. A friend runs a garage. They need someone good with their hands. You used to work with machines, right?" Ryan's eyes widened. "How did you know?" Keanu shrugged. "We talked while you were busy counting coins, remember? You told the clerk you used to fix things." He handed Ryan a small card with an address scribbled on it. "Go there tomorrow morning. They'll be expecting you." Ryan looked at the card like it was a golden ticket. He tried to speak, but the lump in his throat wouldn't let the words out. "Thank you, sir. Really. I don't know what to say." Keanu smiled. "Just promise me you'll show up. That's all you need to do. The rest will come." Emily reached out and touched Keanu's beard with her tiny fingers. "Are you a superhero?" she asked innocently. Keanu laughed so hard he had to wipe tears from his eyes. "No, kiddo. Superheroes wear capes. I just wear old jackets." Ryan laughed too, really laughed, for the first time in months. And as they sat there on that city bench, with the sound of cars and people passing by, Ryan realized that maybe, just maybe, his life was about to change in ways he never imagined. He squeezed the address card in his hand like it was the most precious thing he owned, and for the first time in a long while, he believed he could stand up again. The next morning, Ryan woke before the sun. The city outside was still asleep. The only sound was the soft breathing of Emily, curled up with her new sneakers at the edge of her blanket. He didn't want to wake her. He stood at the window, holding the small card Keanu had given him. The address felt like hope, but hope was scary when you'd lost so much. He quietly made breakfast, just toast and the last bit of peanut butter, and left a note for Emily on the table. "I'm going to find our future, sweetheart." He kissed her forehead before slipping out the door. The street was cold and quiet. Ryan walked to the bus stop, his mind filled with doubts. What if they don't want me? What if I mess this up? What if it's just another dead end? But every time those thoughts came, he pictured Keanu's calm face telling him to show up. So he did. When he reached the garage, he hesitated outside. It looked old but busy. Cars were lined up along the curb. The air smelled like oil and metal. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped inside. A man with gray hair and grease on his shirt looked up from under a car hood. "Can I help you?" Ryan cleared his throat. "Hi, my name's Ryan. Keanu Reeves sent me." The man wiped his hands on a rag and laughed. "Keanu, that guy still sending people my way, huh? I'm Frank. Come here, let's see what you know." Frank handed him a wrench and pointed at an old pickup truck. "Starter's dead. Think you can handle it?" Ryan's hands shook as he took the wrench. He could feel Frank's eyes on him. Memories came back. Long nights at the warehouse fixing forklifts no one else could fix. He closed his eyes for a second, then got to work. It took him 30 minutes. When he climbed out from under the truck, oil streaked on his cheek. The pickup roared to life. Frank crossed his arms, trying to hide his grin. "Not bad, Ryan. Not bad at all. You start tomorrow. Pays not much, but it's honest. And there's always more work if you want it." Ryan felt his chest loosen, like he could breathe again. "Thank you. You won't regret this. Just don't disappear," Frank said. "Keanu vouches for you. That means something to me." Ryan left the garage with his hands still smelling of oil, but his heart feeling new. He wanted to run home and tell Emily on the bus ride back. He stared out the window, dreaming of things he'd forgotten how to dream about. A steady job, maybe even a small cake for Emily's next birthday, maybe a warm jacket for winter. But when he got back to their apartment, his hope crashed into reality. The hallway smelled of stale smoke and sadness. Taped to their door was another bright red notice. "Eviction in 7 days." Ryan pulled it off, his hands trembling. How could he pay rent in a week with a job that didn't even start yet? He stepped inside. Emily ran to him, her arms wide. "Dad, did you get the job?" Ryan forced a smile and lifted her up. "Yes, sweetheart, I did. See? I told you you're the best fixer," she said, giggling. She didn't see the paper in his other hand. That night, Ryan sat alone at the kitchen table again. The numbers didn't add up. He felt the old darkness creeping back. The voice that said, "You'll always be stuck. You'll always lose." His phone buzzed, an unknown number. Ryan hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Hey Ryan, it's Keanu." Ryan almost laughed at the absurdity. "Mr. Reeves, I can't believe you're calling. Wanted to see how the garage went," Keanu said. His voice was calm, like an old friend. "I got the job." "Thank you." "Really? But," Ryan's voice cracked, "they're kicking us out in a week. I don't know how to fix that." There was silence on the line. Then Keanu said, "Where are you right now?" "Home. Stay there. I'll be there soon." Ryan stared at the phone, unsure if he'd imagined it. But 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Ryan opened it to see Keanu standing there holding a bag of groceries in one hand and a small envelope in the other. "Can I come in?" Keanu asked softly. Ryan stepped aside, too stunned to speak. Keanu placed the groceries on the counter and handed Ryan the envelope. "Open it," he said. Ryan did. Inside was enough cash to cover 2 months' rent. His knees nearly gave out. "I can't accept this." You've done enough." Keanu looked him straight in the eyes. "You know, years ago, someone helped me when I had nothing. They didn't. ask for anything back. They just said, one day, you'll help someone else. So that's what I'm doing. And one day, you'll do the same. Tears filled Ryan's eyes. How do I ever repay you? Keanu smiled. You don't. You just keep going. Take care of your daughter. Show up to work. Be kind. That's all. Emily ran into the kitchen, her eyes wide. You're here again. She squealed. Keanu knelt down and hugged her. I told you I'd check on you. You're part of my team now. That night, after Keanu left, Ryan sat on the couch. Emily curled up beside him. The envelope sat on the table like a tiny flame against the darkness. For the first time, Ryan didn't feel alone in the world. He felt like maybe he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The days that followed felt like Ryan was walking a tightrope between fear and hope. Every morning, he left the apartment before sunrise, giving Emily a sleepy kiss on her forehead and whispering, I'm building our future, sweetheart. The garage became more than just a place to work. It was a place where Ryan found pieces of himself he thought he had lost. The man who could fix anything with his hands. The man who could solve problems others walked away from. Frank, the owner, wasn't much of a talker, but he showed respect through small things, a nod, a pat on the back, a cup of hot coffee waiting on cold mornings. By the end of his first week, Ryan's hands were cracked and blistered, but he didn't mind. Every ache felt like a promise that things were changing. But even with the envelope of money Keanu gave him, Ryan knew it wouldn't last forever. Bills didn't wait, and rent was only part of the puzzle. There was food, clothes, school fees. At night, when Emily was asleep, Ryan lay awake staring at the cracks on the ceiling, his mind buzzing with worry. Then came a Saturday morning that changed everything again. Ryan and Emily were at the corner grocery store. Emily had her new sneakers on, and she skipped ahead, humming her favorite song. Ryan was looking at prices, counting coins in his hand when he heard a voice behind him that double quotes, well, if it isn't Mr. Charity Case. Ryan turned to see Brad, an old co-worker from the warehouse. Brad had always found ways to remind Ryan of how life could punch you when you're down. He was dressed sharp, flashing a gold watch on his wrist. Heard you're working at that greasy garage now, Brad said, his grin more like a sneer. Must be nice to smell like oil all day. Ryan clenched his jaw but stayed quiet. He didn't want to fight in front of Emily. Brad looked down at Emily's shoes and laughed. Are those brand new? Come on, man. You can't even pay your bills. Who paid for those? Before Ryan could answer, Emily spoke up, her small voice fierce. A good man bought them for me. He's our friend. Brad raised an eyebrow. A friend? Huh? People don't do things for nothing, Ryan. You'll see. They always want something in return. The words stung more than Ryan wanted to admit. Doubt slipped into his chest like cold air. What if Brad was right? What if Keanu expected something one day, something Ryan couldn't give? He pushed the thought away as he paid for their bread and milk. But the seed of worry had been planted. That night, Ryan sat at the kitchen table again. The envelope of cash was almost gone. He looked at Emily, drawing rainbows on scraps of paper, her face glowing under the weak bulb. He thought about how quickly help could turn into pity, and pity could turn into shame. He decided to call Keanu. His hands trembled as he dialed the number. When Keanu answered, his voice was warm as always. Hey Ryan, everything okay? Ryan swallowed hard. Can I ask you something? Why do you keep helping us? What if I can't ever give anything back? On the other end, Keanu was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly. Ryan, when I lost my family, a stranger gave me a place to stay. He didn't want anything back. He said, just keep the kindness moving. That's all I'm doing. Passing it on. One day, you'll do the same. Maybe not with money. Maybe with your heart. That's enough. Ryan felt tears burning his eyes. But what if I mess up again? Keanu's voice didn't waver. Then you get back up. That's what matters. You're teaching Emily what resilience looks like. That's worth more than anything. Before they hung up, Keanu said, Hey, I'm working on something. Might help you more than cash. Trust me, okay? Ryan didn't know what that meant, but he wanted to believe. Days turned into a week. At the garage, Frank noticed something different about Ryan. The way he stayed late. fixing things no one else wanted to touch, the way he showed up early with a quiet determination. One night, as Ryan was wiping grease from his hands, Frank walked over. "Come by my office," he said. Ryan followed, heart pounding. He sat in the old chair across from Frank's cluttered desk. Frank cleared his throat. "Listen, you're good with your hands, but you've got more than that. You care about people. That matters here." He slid a small envelope across the desk. "I'm giving you an advance. Consider it an investment. Use it for Emily." And he looked Ryan straight in the eye. "Keanu told me you could handle more responsibility. I want you to start training for a lead mechanic position. More hours, better pay, but you gotta stick with it." Ryan stared at the envelope, then at Frank. "Why are you doing this?" Frank shrugged. "Because a long time ago, I needed help too. Now it's my turn to pay it forward. You gonna let me do that?" Ryan nodded. His voice caught in his throat. "Yes, thank you. I won't let you down." When he got home, Ryan opened the envelope, enough to cover groceries and even a little extra to buy Emily a warm coat for winter. He told her the news, and she threw her arms around him, laughing and squealing like they'd just won the lottery. Late that night, after she was asleep, Ryan sat on the edge of his bed. He knew Brad's words were wrong. Not everyone wants something in return. Sometimes people give because they remember what it feels like to have nothing. Ryan whispered to the dark ceiling, "One day, I'll help someone too." He didn't know when or how, but he knew it was true, and far away, in a quiet house of his own, Keanu Reeves sat reading a script by a dim lamp, a small smile on his face. He knew Ryan didn't see it yet, but bigger things were coming for that struggling dad with calloused hands and a daughter who still believed in miracles. Winter came early that year. Cold winds howled through the city, rattling windows like ghosts trying to come in. Ryan pulled his old jacket tighter around himself as he walked Emily to school. She wore her new warm coat, bought with the extra money Frank gave him. The coat was bright yellow, like sunshine cutting through gray clouds. Emily skipped beside him, her sneakers squeaking on the icy sidewalk. "Dad, my teacher said I draw the best rainbows in class," she said, her cheeks rosy from the wind. Ryan smiled, his breath visible in the morning air. "You do, sweetheart. You bring color wherever you go." After he dropped her off, Ryan walked to the garage, his steps slow but steady. Things were better now, not perfect, but better. Frank had started training him for the lead mechanic position. Every night Ryan came home tired, but it was the good kind of tired, the kind that told him he'd done something right. But he never forgot the eviction notice that almost pushed him over the edge, or the envelope Keanu handed him when he had nothing left. He kept it, empty but safe, as a reminder that even when life breaks you down, kindness can glue you back together. One afternoon, just as Ryan was finishing up a tricky repair on a delivery van, Frank called him into the office again. Ryan wiped his hands on a rag, trying to calm the familiar flutter in his chest. "What's up, Frank?" he asked, stepping inside. Frank didn't smile this time. Instead, he held out a folded newspaper. "You see this?" Ryan took the paper and read the headline, "Hollywood star Keanu Reeves opens fund to help working families get back on their feet." Ryan's eyes widened. Below the headline was a photo of Keanu standing next to a small group of people, and right there, in the middle, was Ryan himself, caught in a candid moment from the day they first met at the shoe store. Emily was in the shot too, beaming with her pink sneakers. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Frank asked, his voice quiet. Ryan's single quotes s mind spun. "I didn't know. He didn't tell me I knew he was working on something, but..." Before he could finish, Frank clapped him on the shoulder. "Well, looks like you're the face of this thing now. Reporters have been calling here. They want to talk to you, get your story." Ryan felt heat rise in his neck. "I'm nobody, Frank. I don't want to be in the news. I'm just trying to fix cars and take care of my daughter." Frank shook his head. "Sometimes your story helps people more than you know. You gonna talk to them?" Ryan didn't answer right away. He walked back out to the garage, the newspaper still in his hand. He thought of Brad's cruel words. People always want something in return, but Keanu never asked for anything. He only gave, and now he was giving more, not just to Ryan, but to families like his. That night, Ryan sat at the kitchen table again, the paper spread out in front of him. Emily sat beside him, coloring a new rainbow. "Dad, that's you," she giggled, pointing at the photo. "And that's me." "Yeah," Ryan said softly. "That's us." His phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Hey Ryan, it's Keanu. Saw the news story. Proud of you. You ready for tomorrow?" Ryan stared at the words. "Ready for what?" He typed back, his fingers trembling. The reply came quick. "Tomorrow's the press conference. You and Emily are coming. I want people to see real hope, not just my face." Ryan's heart raced. Him on a stage, people looking at him. All he ever wanted was to fix cars and keep his daughter safe. He wasn't built for cameras and questions. But then he looked at Emily's rainbow drawing. Bold colors, no lines holding her back. Maybe he needed to be brave for her. The next morning came fast. Ryan put on his best shirt, the one with only one stain he couldn't wash out. He brushed Emily's hair until it shone. When they arrived at the community hall, they were led backstage where lights buzzed and people talked into headsets. Ryan's palms were sweaty. Keanu found them in the chaos. He was dressed simply. No Hollywood shine, just a kind smile. "You look good, man," he said, giving Ryan a quick hug. Then he knelt to Emily's level. "You ready to be my superstar today?" Emily nodded. "Are you nervous?" she asked him. Keanu laughed. "Always." He stood and turned to Ryan. "Just speak from your heart. Tell them the truth. People don't need fancy words. They need real ones." When they stepped onto the stage, the cameras flashed like tiny storms. Ryan felt his throat close up, but then he felt Emily's small hand slip into his. She looked up at him with those clear eyes, the same eyes that had seen him at his worst, and loved him anyway. He took a deep breath. Keanu introduced him, telling the crowd how they'd met. When it was Ryan's turn to speak, his voice shook, but he didn't stop. "I'm not special," he said. "I'm just a dad who needed help. Someone saw me when I thought I was invisible. He didn't just give me money, he gave me a reason to try again." He paused, feeling the tears come. "I think that's what we're all doing here. We're telling people you're not alone. And when you stand up again, you bring someone with you." The room was silent except for a few quiet sniffles. When he finished, the applause was soft but real, the kind that says, "We see you now." Afterward, Keanu put an arm around Ryan's shoulders. "You did good, man." Ryan looked at him, still stunned. "Why me?" Keanu smiled, his eyes kind. "Because you remind people that it's never too late to stand up. And that's a story worth telling." Ryan knew he would never be the same. He didn't know what would come next. Cameras would leave. News stories would fade. But he felt something stronger than fear inside him now. He knew that whatever came, he and Emily would face it together. And in that hall, with strangers clapping and cameras flashing, Ryan realized that sometimes life doesn't change all at once. Sometimes it changes because one person believes you're worth helping, and you believe it too. The days after the press conference felt like a dream Ryan never wanted to wake up from. People who used to walk past him without a glance now smiled and said, "I saw you on TV. Your story gave me hope." At first, Ryan felt shy. He wasn't used to being seen like this. He was the man who worked in the back, who fixed things quietly. Now, strangers treated him like he mattered, not because of what he had, but because of who he was. At the garage, Frank treated him like family. He gave him more hours, showed him how to order parts, how to handle customers when they came in with more problems than money. Ryan listened and learned. Every greasy bolt felt like a step forward. One night, after closing, Frank called him over. "Listen, Ryan, I want you to take over more here. Maybe even become my partner one day. You've got the heart for this. People trust you." Ryan laughed, wiping sweat and oil from his brow. "Partner? Me?" Frank nodded. "You remind me of myself when I was young, hungry to make life better, not just for yourself, but for others." Ryan thought of Keanu, of the small card with the garage's address. One choice had opened so many doors. He knew he'd never forget it. At home, things changed too. Ryan no longer counted coins for every loaf of bread. Emily didn't have to worry about wearing shoes too small for her feet. She still drew rainbows. But now she added little cars and wrenches, pictures of her dad fixing things, making the world better with his hands. One Saturday morning, Ryan and Emily were eating breakfast when there was a knock at the door. Ryan opened it to see Keanu standing there, holding 2 cups of coffee and a small box wrapped in silver paper. "You didn't have to bring us anything," Ryan said. But Keanu just shrugged and stepped inside. "Open it," Keanu said, handing the box to Emily. Emily ripped the paper, giggling when she saw what was inside. A tiny toy toolbox painted bright red. Inside were small plastic tools, each labeled with her name. "You said you want to help people too, right?" Keanu asked her. "Every good helper needs good tools." Emily hugged him so tight he almost spilled his coffee. Ryan stood there, his eyes warm. "How do I ever thank you for everything you've done?" Keanu set his coffee down and looked Ryan straight in the eyes. "Promise me you'll do the same for someone else when you can. That's all I want." Ryan nodded. "I promise, I really promise." They sat together that morning, a famous actor, a struggling dad who wasn't struggling anymore, and a little girl with bright sneakers and big dreams. They talked about small things, the best kind of breakfast, the sound cars make when they run right, the importance of not giving up when you're tired and scared. Years later, Ryan kept that promise. He never forgot it. When a young man came into the garage one winter night, shivering, asking for work, Ryan gave him a chance. He remembered how it felt when Frank said yes when Keanu handed him that card, when the world told him he wasn't invisible after all. Sometimes, at night, Ryan would see Emily curled up in her bed, her toy toolbox on her shelf, her old pink sneakers sitting next to her new ones. He'd whisper to himself, "We did it." Because it wasn't about the shoes or the money. It was about seeing each other, about standing together when the world tries to knock you down. And somewhere out there, under city lights that never sleep, there were other Ryans, other people holding on by a thread. But maybe, because of one act of kindness, they'd find their Keanu too. Someone who would remind them that hope is always waiting to walk in, no matter how dark it gets. And Ryan knew that was how you change the world. One small kindness at a time, asterisk.